Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nipples every day to get some of that dirty YouTube money so I can afford to provide you folks in-person, hands-on technology education in Durham, North Carolina. Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. We're doing a class on AI and SQL tomorrow, AI and web scraping coming up on November 19th. We're going to have classes on AI at the Edge and a lot of other AI classes coming up. If you're interested, take a look at silicondojo.com. Do remember, free to the end user is not actually free. That's why I shake my brain nips every day. There is a donor box link down below if you would like to support that program. And now to the AI insanity. Now, one of the things I want you to understand if you are going to run a successful con is that you have to make sure everybody else that is part of the con gets a fair cut of what you defraud the mark from, right? Make sure everybody gets paid, and then everybody is gonna be happy, right? If you're trying to run a con and you try to go cheap with the people that's helping you, everything can kind of go to hell, right? You don't want to use free interns for your con. You want to get real professionals in there, and that's what we got going on right now with the AI con. Is it even the AI bubble anymore? At this point, it's just the AI fraud, the AI hyperscaled fraud that everybody is getting a paycheck from. And so now OpenAI is going to be giving more money to Amazon. I think they're already giving money to Amazon, but I don't know. Now they're giving them $38 billion more. From The Guardian, a lot of other people too, OpenAI signs $38 billion cloud computing deal with Amazon, right? So OpenAI is making sure everybody in the con gets paid. Or maybe it's NVIDIA is really making sure everybody in the con is getting paid, right? Oracle has a $300 billion deal. Google has a deal. Amazon has a deal. Microsoft has a deal. Notice this incestuous goat screw when it comes to this AI debacle, how they are all getting their cut off of the fraud off of the global population, right? They are more than happy to mine the foundations of our global civilization just so they can get a little bit of extra money. They don't give a fuck what the hell happens to anybody else. And this is just going to get worse. As I've talked about this with artificial intelligence, one of the fascinating things for me, beyond my opinions and all that, is just how much AI disillusionment I've seen over the past 6 months to a year. Now, I have always, been a bit suspicious. I don't know, I hate to say suspicious, but I haven't been as wowed as many other people have. But for 2 or 3 years, right, when I would go out and I would talk with people, almost everybody, they would drown me out, right? I would say, but... and basically they would run over me. I would get mansplained every damn day why AI was the greatest thing in the world and how I was kind of, a Luddite really to not understand that. One of the fascinating things is just over the past 6 months to a year, how I've seen more and more of those conversations is less and less mansplaining, more and more an actual conversation about, no, seriously, what can we use these products for? And so what's interesting to see is basically as there's more questioning about the actual practicality of artificial intelligence, the value, how much more investment they're dumping into this. And I think they have to dump money into it to keep the Ponzi scheme of the United States up and running. I mean, they talk about that with, it was like 2025, it was for 2025 for GDP. Like AI investment alone is like 1 to 1.5% of GDP bump for the entire United States. Literally, if there wasn't the AI investment, our entire GDP gain would go down by 1 to 1.5% just from the AI boom. And I really, again, looking around at our society and how our society is falling apart, hospitals are basically closing by the day. Housing is unaffordable for most people. We have SNAP, so now the government is currently shut down, one of the longest shutdowns in history, like 32 days or whatever it's been shut down. the Trump administration has been forced by a judge to actually pay like food stamp benefits, but the Trump administration is now paying like half the food stamp benefits. I don't quite get how that works. You know how Trump is. You may force him to do something, but he's going to do it in such a way that you know who's actually in charge. Anyways, you just look around, right? Our society is fractured. Our society is falling apart, and yet there's more and more emphasis by everybody on artificial intelligence. Everything from the tech world to the politicians to so many people on the street that don't know what the fuck RAG is or Transformers or anything else. And I think it's like that grasping onto something that might keep us from going under, that might keep our economy from just fucking exploding. And I don't think it's gonna work because there's just not that much AI value there. Is there AI value? Yeah. Is there this much? No. But anyways, OpenAI signs $38 billion cloud computing deal with Amazon, agreement to use AWS data centers and NVIDIA chips inside them. Again, and notice NVIDIA, right, is not simply, hey, we're going to pay AWS for whatever they'll provide us, right? It's got to be NVIDIA. Part of a $1.4 trillion spending spree on AI infrastructure. OpenAI has signed a $38 billion deal for the U.S. infrastructure to operate its artificial intelligence products as part of more than $1 trillion spending spree on computing power. The agreement with AWS means OpenAI will be able to use AWS data centers and NVIDIA chips inside them immediately. Last week, OpenAI's chief executive, Sam Altman, said his company had committed to spending $1.4 trillion on AI infrastructure amid concerns over the sustainability of the boom and using and building data centers. Quote, scaling frontier AI requires massive, reliable compute, Altman said on Monday. Quote, our partnership with AWS strengthens the broad compute ecosystem and will power this next era and bring advanced AI to everyone. And the curious thing, again, with this whole, like, what is it? Like, what is being provided to everyone? Right? Like with Netflix, like when you say streaming video, right? Go back 15 years ago, about 15, 16 years ago, we will bring streaming video to everybody. Like, you know what the fuck that means. Like, you like streaming video, hate streaming video. You know what streaming video is. Whether it's Hulu or whether it's Netflix or whether it's YouTube, streaming video, streaming video. Again, email services, social media services, some of these other, IT type services. Like, you know what it is. Like, we are, right? When you talk about AI, it's very important to be thinking about this. What the fuck are you actually talking about? I don't want AI. To be honest with you, I don't want AI, right? I don't even want databases. I don't want protocols. I want solutions, right? So if you're watching this video, right, I want to be able to create videos that other people are able to consume on demand. That is what I want. That is the actual product. Now, to build that product, there are a lot of components there. There's something called streaming servers, right? I had a Flash Media server back in the day. There's the hardware for the servers. There's a protocol. There's something called RTMP that rides on top of TCP/IP 4.0, right? There's something called multi-bit rate switching, right? But that's the thing is, like, unless you're me, you're not buying multi-bit rate switching, right? Think about how many YouTube videos you watch. How many YouTube videos, all this. When was the last time you thought about multi-bit rate switching? How many of you know what the fuck multi-bit rate switching is, right? Because you don't care. What you want is the video. What I find fascinating about this, with this whole idea of bringing advanced AI to everyone, notice that's not actually a thing. That's a technology. That's like, imagine if I came out. It's like, yeah, I want to bring TCP/IP to everybody. Right? That would be dumb. That would be fucking dumb. You would all agree I was being dumber than normal. Wow, Eli, the computer guy, is normally fucking stupid, but by God, he's talking about TCP/IP4 to everybody. Who the fuck? That's not what people want. People want communicate. The communication might be in email. The communication might be in WhatsApp. The communication might be in RTMP with YouTube videos. Communication might be in SMS with text messages. right? They want communication. The form of the communication is going to be email or video or SMS or whatever. In order to be able to deliver that form of communication, you need this stack of technologies in order to provide that. Right? Nobody's fucking buying RT, or very few people are buying RTMP. Right? Nobody's like, RTMP 2.0, motherfuckers. Right? Maybe if people were excited about TCP/IP v6, maybe if people cared about the technology, we'd have v6 at this point in time. But we fucking don't, right? When I got my MCSE in 2000, my instructor literally apologized to us that one of the tests that we had to take was on TCP/IP version 4. He said, I am sorry you're having to learn all of this right now to become certified in IPv4 because IPv6, that is what we're all going to be going to in a couple of years. That is what I was told back in 2000. It's 2025, and there is a lot of stuff actually on v6 right now, but most people don't fucking realize it. What equipment, if you're a technology professional, what equipment are you using right now that actually runs v6? Right? You probably are. In your infrastructure, you probably are running v6, but as I say this question, you're probably like, fuck. Right? Because you don't know. Nobody gives a fuck about v6. They care about YouTube videos. And so that's a fascinating thing with this whole idea of we're going to bring advanced AI. That is not actually a thing. People think it's a thing. In their brain, they have this idea of what AI is. Ergo, they're like, yay! But AI itself isn't a thing. We need solutions. What is the solution? We are going to be bringing advanced doctors, automated doctors. And again, as I've talked about before, things like doctors, you could do a lot of stuff with spreadsheets. It's fascinating. Again, starting off in the Army with electronics for the electronic equipment we had to repair way back in the day. We had these books. We had these fucking binders. We had these binders. And you open these binders and there were fucking flowcharts. There were these most insane flowcharts you've ever seen in your life. Fucking 400 pages of flowchart. If then this, do this. What is the error code, blase, and you go all the way through to diagnose what the actual problem is. And that was interesting. You didn't need artificial intelligence. You didn't actually need a computer. No computer would have been nice. You just needed 400 pages of flowcharts. I can tell you in the modern world, a lot of our problems can be solved with digitized flowcharts. If you simply came up with a web form and you came up with the flowchart, it's amazing how much stuff could be automated in the modern world. But for some reason, flowcharts don't get a $5 trillion valuation. AI does. Again, think about this with so many healthcare things. Imagine, again, with a computer. Imagine you could just plug in all of your symptoms and some other things, and then that could correlate that based off of problems that other people have had. Do you really actually need artificial intelligence to solve that particular problem? And the answer is no. But for some reason, again, if you put the shine of AI on top of it, ooh, that's all fancy and cool. OpenAI said the deal would give it access to hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA graphics processors to train and run its AI models. Amazon plans to use the chips and data clusters that will power ChatGPT's responses and train OpenAI's next wave of models, the company said. Matt Garman, chief executive of AWS, said OpenAI continued to push the boundaries of what was possible and that Amazon infrastructure would serve as a backbone for its ambitions. OpenAI is committed to developing 30 gigawatts of computing resources, enough to power roughly 25 million U.S. homes. So basically, OpenAI alone, this is just OpenAI, wants to use as much electricity as 8% of American homes. And do remember, Americans really like to use their electricity. We have things like air conditioning and the rest of it, right? And the whole question I keep coming back to is, what problems is it actually solving? Is it actually solving valuable problems? The race for computing power by AI companies has raised concerns among some market watchers about how it will be paid for. OpenAI's annual revenue is about $13 billion. Annual revenue is $13 billion. Revenue, according to Financial Times, a figure dwarfed by its $1.4 trillion infrastructure commitment. Other data center deals signed by OpenAI include a $300 billion agreement with the U.S. company Oracle. Analysts of the U.S. investment bank Morgan Stanley estimate that the global spending on data centers will reach nearly $3 trillion between now and 2028. They said half of that spending will be covered by big U.S. tech companies, and the rest would come from sources such as private credit market, a growing part of the shadow banking sector that is raising concerns in the Bank of England and elsewhere. So OpenAI is making sure that everybody's palm gets greased in the fraud of history. This may just be the biggest fraud in history. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. The fascinating thing that I find with this, again, many years into this particular tech cycle at this point, we hear about the investments, we hear about a lot of those things. We literally do not actually hear a lot about the solutions. Like what I find interesting about this, and why I bring this up, and having been in the technology world for a long time now, is like I think about Watson, right? So IBM Watson had me sold on AI back in like 2010. Remember Watson in 2010? Yeah, apparently nobody else does. And the interesting thing with Watson back in 2010 is IBM was trying to figure out how to make money off of their AI. Again, they've got this AI product. How are they going to make money off of the AI? And so their idea was basically Watson Healthcare, right? Here's the concept. You create this AI system, and now this AI system can have access to hundreds of millions or possibly billions of health records to try to come up with the best plan for whatever you're going through and to come up with the best diagnosis. Right? I heard IBM, right? I was at Interop, New York, again, back in 2012 or 2011 when they were talking about this. And it was a truly terrific idea. It's a great concept. And their idea, they basically said, look, any doctor, the entire lifetime of experience of a doctor, they're only ever going to deal with so many thousands of patients. Right? And this is a real problem. Right? If you go to a doctor and you have a condition they've never seen before, they don't know what to do. Right? So we have a family friend. Right? They lived in California, but they had come to the East Coast. When they're in the East Coast, they got bit by a tick, and they got Lyme disease. They then went back to California. They're going about their life. Lyme disease is really shitty, so they go to the doctor. They try to figure out what's going on. Right? The doctors on the West Coast had never seen Lyme disease before. So they go through all of these tests. This is a complete and utter fucking disaster, right? Because the experience level of the doctors on the West Coast, they did not know to look for Lyme disease. They had not seen Lyme disease before. So although it's a rather common diagnosis over here in the East Coast, this is the same fucking country, right? Even though it's a pretty common diagnosis over here, it was just a complete and utter disaster, right? And so the interesting idea here is, what if you have Watson for healthcare, AI for healthcare? So this would have access to hundreds of millions of records, so that when you come in, it does not have the knowledge of a couple hundred patients or a couple thousand patients. It has knowledge of the patients, like every patient, right? That, fuck me, how much is that worth? Motherfucker, put money on the table. Take all of my money, right? Exponentially grow all of my money. I want my home run off of all my money. Yeah, and it failed. I don't really understand why I failed. I bring it up with IBM people every once in a while, and they're like, it didn't work out. And you're like, yeah, but why didn't it work out? It didn't work out. You're like, no, but seriously, like, why didn't it work out? Right? Anyways, and I think that's the interesting thing, is like, even when you hear these amazing use cases, even when it is manifestly obvious that there should be a metric crap ton of economic value from a product that can be created, the reality, as I've talked about many times, is turning ideas into viable, profitable products is a complete and utter pain in the ass, right? There's so much that goes into actually being able to scale out, ship, and profit off of a product or idea. And so that's my concern here with all this focus on AI. I don't, like when we saw with the web, right? You know, nobody was really selling HTTP, right? If you go back to the 90s, right? But when you go back to none of us knowing what the fuck the web was back in the day, right? They didn't sell us HTTP. Again, they didn't sell us IPv4. They didn't sell us FTP. They didn't sell us that shit, right? They sold us basically the idea of knowing when a restaurant was open. Hey, would you like to know the menu of a restaurant? Oh yeah, that'd be great. Well, great. You can go to the web and you can see the menu of a restaurant. Wow, see, that's a solution. Like, I don't give a fuck about HTTP or IPv4. I can see, oh, hey, do you want to go to that pizza place? Let's see what their specials are today. Right? That makes sense. Oh, you want the news? Right? You want to be able to see the news or whatever? Look, you can read the news online. Hey, you want to see naked girls? Right? I'm not thinking about TCP ports now. I want to see naked girls, right? That's how the internet was sold. Again, if you think of the smartphone, you think about the iPhone, right? Like that real revolution, right? Again, it wasn't on systems on a chip or any of that kind of stuff. Imagine if you have the power of the internet, right? You already understand what the internet is. Imagine if you had that power in your pocket, right? That's the selling the product. And now you look at AI, and they're like, well, AI. Well, you need more AI. Yeah, but what are you selling? Like, what am I using? Because I can say, like, if you say, hey, this is a product that's going to improve how easy it is to code or whatever, right? Again, that's a value for AI. That's one of the things I use ChatGPT for. Right? Okay, but I mean that has a value. That's $20 a month. I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT, and I feel pretty good with that. Maybe I go to 30, maybe not, but I also make money off of it. Again, the featured images, when you look at featured images, right, those are ChatGPT. And when I create classes, because again, when I create these classes, syntax is a bugger. Like imagine every time you're like writing code, you're always writing code on completely new concepts and very bespoke ideas, and you just, again, commas and shit. Anyways, right, so ChatGPT is worth that. But I don't know, even for me, is it worth $100 a month? And I think that's what we start getting into with this. I just don't see that massive value proposition for AI. I don't know. And then you hear, like I say, $1.4 trillion in spending for one AI company. And they want to burn through 8% of electricity consumption in the United States for this one AI company. There's a lot of questions there. So anyways, I don't know. What do you think about this? What do you think about OpenAI greasing the palms of Amazon now? Amazon getting their $38 billion. Do you think it's interesting how all of the big tech players are getting their cut? Especially if you've been in the tech world for a while. Remember when there used to be competition in the tech world? Remember when it just used to be ugly competition? Again, the whole vaporware thing. Remember when Bill Gates would claim that Microsoft was coming out with, that they were literally about to ship a product when they hadn't even thought about the product before, simply to kneecap a competitor? I mean, think about that. That's where our field was. That was where our industry was. And now we have everybody in bed with everybody else. NVIDIA giving money to OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Oracle of all people, right? Amazon, Intel, SoftBank, because they're always in this shit, right? All of them in this weird fucking incestuous syphilitic fucking goat screw. I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a moron. Just be a real Lutnick and put a strong American comment down there. I expect your comment to be able to bench press the way an American cow can bench press. As you say, why do American cows bench press? Don't ask that question. Why do American cows have opposable thumbs? You know to bench press, you need to be able to grip the bar. You're like, why do American cows have hands? Eli, American cows have hands. Don't. You're missing the point. You're missing the point. The point is that our comments, like our cows, are strong. Don't question why they're strong. Don't question what's in the shot. Just take the fucking shot. Anyways, as always, what I actually care about is Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com, free to end user hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. We have a class on SQL and AI coming up tomorrow. We have a class on AI and web scraping coming up on the 19th. We have more AI classes coming up. If you're interested, take a look at silicondojo.com to see what the current schedule is. Also remember, free to end user is not actually free. That's why I shake my brain nipples every day. If you would like to throw some money into the donor box link, that would be ever so lovely. And with that, see y'all later.